One miscalculation, one moment of overconfidence. That's all it takes to transform ambitious record seekers into cautionary tales. Their stories revealed that in the pursuit of human limits, expertise means nothing when physics and fate conspire against you. It was July 15, 2016, when the crystal-clear waters of Dean's Blue Hole in the Bahamas would claim the life of a promising young marine biologist whose passion for pushing human limits would ultimately become his downfall. Dashiell Ford, 28 years old, had dedicated his life to understanding the ocean's mysteries. A graduate student of marine biology, he spent his days researching deep-sea ecosystems and his evenings pursuing his true obsession, breaking human depth records. His colleagues knew him as methodical and quietly confident, traits that had served him well during 8 years of competitive freediving. Ford had earned multiple national-level podium finishes and was respected in the record-breaking community for his scientific approach to extreme human performance. For 4 weeks, Ford had been living in a modest guest house near Dean's Blue Hole, a site renowned among elite record seekers for its extreme depth and calm conditions. It was the perfect training ground for his ambitious goal, establishing a new human depth record exceeding 300 feet on a single breath using the constant weight discipline. His support team included his girlfriend, Sherry, a certified safety diver, Dr. Martinez, a sports medicine physician, and veteran record holder Tom Chua, who served as safety coordinator. The morning of July 15th brought ideal conditions. Ford wore a lightweight weight belt calibrated to make him neutrally buoyant around 100 feet. Safety divers were assigned to intercept Ford during his ascent at predetermined depths, following established record attempt safety protocols. Shortly before noon, Ford began his descent. His form was perfect as he passed the 100-foot marker in 45 seconds, entering the free-fall phase with arms streamlined above his head. Surface officials tracked his descent using line markers and dive timing. At approximately 330 feet, Ford touched the target plate and began his ascent, overshooting his planned depth. The return journey started normally. Ford maintained steady monofin kicks through the first 200 feet. As Ford passed 66 feet on the ascent, the safety diver noted his progress and observed early signs of physical strain. By 20 feet, subtle signs of hypoxia became apparent. His movements slowed, and the safety diver moved closer, shadowing him on his right side. At 10 feet from the surface, disaster struck. Ford experienced a loss of motor control, his body convulsing briefly before he lost consciousness completely. The safety diver immediately secured his airway and brought him to the surface within seconds, but Ford was unresponsive and not breathing. Dr. Martinez began CPR and rescue breathing on the platform while applying supplemental oxygen. Despite their rapid response and advanced medical training, Ford could not be revived. The Coast Guard helicopter arrived quickly, but it was too late. Less than an hour after the record attempt began, Dashiell Ford was later pronounced dead. A medical examination determined the cause of death to be hypoxic hypoxia, leading to loss of consciousness and respiratory arrest. A post-incident medical review and safety analysis later concluded that excessive pre-ventilation was a likely contributing factor, as it can reduce carbon dioxide levels and mask the body's natural warning signs. This dangerous practice, known as CO2 washout, had reduced the body's natural urge to breathe, a mechanism investigators believe allowed him to push beyond safe limits. According to the investigation, his recent training practices suggested increasingly aggressive breathing techniques, a potential warning sign that went unrecognized. Ford's death sent shockwaves through the extreme record-breaking community and reignited debate about safety limits in human performance attempts. In response, governing bodies issued renewed safety advisories and initiated internal reviews of deep record protocols and reinforced stricter intervention guidelines. The incident also prompted enhanced medical screening requirements for individuals attempting extreme depth records. The tragedy of Dashiell Ford serves as a stark reminder that even the most experienced record seekers can fall victim to the unforgiving nature of pushing human boundaries. His story would not be the last, as other limit pushers would soon discover that breaking records often carries irreversible consequences. Just over a year later, former Cirque du Soleil performer Cordelia Jones would face her own deadly challenge high above the Colorado landscape, proving that danger lurked not only in the depths below, but also in the heights above. It was September 3rd, 2017, when the unforgiving winds of Royal Gorge in Colorado would transform what should have been a triumphant wire-walking record into a devastating tragedy that would forever change extreme human performance safety protocols. Cordelia Jones, 31, had spent most of her adult life defying gravity. The Montreal native had been a star performer with Cirque du Soleil for 7 years before a devastating knee injury forced her to reinvent herself as an extreme wire walker. Her perfectionist nature, which had once made her a sought-after acrobat, now drove her to push the boundaries of what was humanly possible on a steel cable suspended hundreds of feet above the earth. The Royal Gorge Bridge, stretching 955 feet above the Arkansas River, had become her obsession. The attempt had been publicly announced weeks in advance, with limited spectators kept outside a secured exclusion zone. For 18 months, Jones had meticulously planned every detail of her record attempt. A 1,300-foot wire walk across the canyon that would shatter the existing distance record. She had arrived in Colorado 6 weeks early, working alongside approved structural engineers to install a temporary rigging system anchored to pre-approved load points. Her husband, Mark, a rigging specialist, had designed the safety systems. Philippe, her former Cirque trainer, provided technical guidance, while paramedic Lisa Rodriguez stood ready for any emergency. The team had installed anemometers along the span, with strict protocols calling for immediate suspension if sustained winds exceeded 20 miles per hour or gusts spiked above 25. The morning conditions seemed perfect. At 6:15 a.m., Jones stepped onto the 1-inch steel wire, carrying her 28-foot balancing pole, weighing 31 pounds. Jones chose to walk without a safety harness, believing that any tether would compromise the legitimacy of the distance record. The initial 0.2 of a mile progressed smoothly, with sustained winds holding steady at 12 miles per hour. Later engineering analysis suggested that as morning temperatures rose, the steel cable expanded unevenly as shaded sections warmed at different rates, a change investigators believe reduced effective midspan tension and increased sag. Jones adapted her technique, but the physics were working against her. At the 0.4 mile mark, the anemometers suddenly registered a crosswind gust spiking to 28 miles per hour. The wind caught her balancing pole like a sail, creating massive lateral torque that sent the wire into violent oscillations. Jones immediately lowered her stance, fighting to dampen the coupled lateral and vertical movements that threatened to throw her off balance. In that critical moment, her foot lost traction for a fraction of a second. The slip was barely perceptible, but at 955 feet above the canyon floor, there was no margin for error. Jones lunged for the cable itself, her hands making contact with the steel, but the oscillating wire reversed phase just as she attempted to grip it. Her fingers slipped, and she fell away from the wire, tumbling leftward into the void. After several hundred feet of free fall, she reached near terminal velocity before striking a rocky ledge below, before impacting a rocky ledge near the Arkansas River's edge. The canyon floor emergency team reached her location after a rapid descent, but the massive blunt force trauma to her head, chest, and pelvis had been instantly fatal. Investigation teams later concluded that rising temperatures likely reduced wire tension beyond planned operating ranges, making the system hypersensitive to crosswind loading. The gust that killed Jones had exceeded the 25-mile-per-hour threshold by only 3 miles per hour, but that small difference proved catastrophic when combined with the reduced cable tension. Royal Gorge authorities paused, permitting for similar high-risk aerial attempts pending review, implementing stricter real-time meteorological monitoring requirements. The incident renewed industry pressure for continuous tension monitoring and clearer suspension thresholds for long-span wire walks. Cordelia Jones had mastered controlled movement in impossible spaces, but nature's chaotic forces proved stronger than human precision. Her death marked another tragic milestone in a devastating period for extreme record attempts. Soon, Yosemite's granite walls would claim another life when climber Kai Mercer discovered that even experienced boundary pushers cannot predict when solid stone will betray them. It was May 22, 2018, when the towering granite monolith of El Capitan in Yosemite National Park would demonstrate that even the most solid-looking rock can become a deadly projectile without warning, claiming the life of one of America's most dedicated record seekers. Kai Mercer had always been drawn to vertical challenges. The 26-year-old from Boulder, Colorado, made his living as a professional rock climber and gear tester, but his true obsession lay in breaking speed records. His methodical approach had earned him several regionally recognized speed records on technical routes across the American West. The nose route on El Capitan represented the ultimate test for record-breaking climbers. This 2,900-foot granite wall had been conquered countless times. But Mercer's goal was different. He wanted to push the ascent below the 2-hour mark, shattering a record that had stood as the pinnacle of human achievement on stone. He had spent 3 weeks in Yosemite Valley, documenting every hold and movement sequence with his climbing partner, Jake Sullivan, a 29-year-old route specialist. Their ground support included Dr. Sue Kim, a 35-year-old emergency physician monitoring conditions from the base, and David Chi, 32, who served as photographer and official record witness. The plan was methodical. Use simul-climbing techniques with selective gear placements to maintain maximum speed while preserving essential safety margins. Dawn on May 22nd brought perfect conditions. At 5:47 a.m., Mercer began his record attempt with rock temperatures, ideal for grip in stable weather forecasts. His early progress was exceptional, dispatching the first 1,000 feet well under his practice times with efficient belay transitions that saved crucial seconds. The area was known for complex rope geometry and limited opportunities to manage slack during high-speed movement. Mercer was executing a dynamic sequence he had perfected through countless repetitions when the mountain itself betrayed him. A basketball-sized granite block suddenly detached from the wall. Subsequent geological analysis identified natural exfoliation processes that would not have been visible during inspection. The falling rock struck with devastating force, hitting his left shoulder and helmet simultaneously. The impact sent Mercer into a 15-foot fall before his protection caught him, leaving his shoulder badly compromised. Despite visible signs of injury, Mercer chose to continue the ascent, overruling concerns raised by his partner. Investigators later noted that symptoms observed shortly afterward were consistent with an evolving neurological injury. Jake immediately noticed the changes in his partner's behavior. Mercer's speech became slurred and his movements uncoordinated, signs consistent with a serious head injury. At 2,100 feet, while negotiating a challenging overhanging section, Mercer's weakened grip finally failed completely. The second fall was longer and more violent than the first. 25 feet of uncontrolled descent ended in a violent pendulum swing, Mercer's head striking the granite wall with sickening force despite his helmet. Jake immediately secured an anchor and halted all upward progress, recognizing that this was now a medical emergency. Mercer became unresponsive within minutes, his breathing shallow and irregular. The Yosemite search and rescue team responded efficiently, but the technical nature of the rescue from their exposed position complicated every aspect of the evacuation. The helicopter extraction was precise, but time-critical. By the time they reached the regional trauma center, CT scans later revealed severe traumatic brain injury with extensive intracranial hemorrhage. Late that morning, less than 5 hours after beginning his record attempt, Kai Mercer was pronounced dead. The cause was traumatic brain injury resulting from the initial rockfall impact, compounded by the secondary head trauma. The investigation confirmed what every record seeker fears. The granite block was part of El Capitan's natural exfoliation process, not identifiable during routine inspection. The granite walls of Yosemite had claimed another life, proving that even the most experienced record breakers cannot control every variable in their dangerous pursuit of human limits. Soon, breath-hold record specialist Eleanor King would discover that the human body's need for oxygen cannot be indefinitely denied. It was March 8, 2015, when an Olympic training pool in Colorado Springs became the site of a tragedy that would forever change perceptions of extreme human endurance records and the dangerous pursuit of physiological limits. Eleanor King, 29, a former swimmer from Portland, Oregon, had transitioned from competitive swimming to static apnea following her swimming career. What set Eleanor apart was her methodical scientific approach to training that had made her a respected figure in the breath-holding record community. Her meticulous documentation of training sessions had earned her recognition among researchers studying human aquatic adaptation. The Olympic Training Center had become Eleanor's second home over the past 6 months. Working with pulmonologist Dr. James Wright, a volunteer consultant specializing in extreme physiology, she had developed an intensive regimen that tested the limits of human respiratory physiology. Her coach, Maria Santos, was a former world record holder who understood the delicate balance between peak performance and dangerous overreach. Her target was ambitious: 9 minutes and 45 seconds of static apnea, following standard AIDA protocols. This would surpass the existing women's record by 30 seconds, establishing her as the premier female breath-holding record holder. Eleanor would remain face down while safety spotters monitored her continuously. The support team represented the gold standard of breath-holding safety protocols. Dr. Wright provided comprehensive medical supervision, Maria offered technical guidance based on decades of experience, and Tom Bradley, a certified lifeguard and paramedic, stood ready with rescue equipment, including oxygen delivery systems and defibrillation capabilities. At 2:15 p.m., Eleanor began her final preparations with the precision that had characterized her entire record-breaking career. The pool environment was carefully controlled for water temperature and lighting. She wore a wetsuit and nose clip, while safety spotters took positions at the pool edge, and one diver remained close in the water, ready to intervene. The early stages proceeded exactly as planned. For the first 4 minutes, Eleanor remained completely motionless, her body exhibiting the classic mammalian diving response that slowed her heart rate to 35 beats per minute. This adaptation allows humans to conserve oxygen by redirecting blood flow to essential organs. At 5 minutes and 30 seconds, Eleanor began experiencing involuntary diaphragmatic contractions, signaling rising carbon dioxide levels. These contractions are normal during extended breath holds and were well within her extensive training experience. The critical phase began at 8 minutes and 30 seconds. Eleanor's peripheral movements became slightly irregular, and post-event monitoring data reviewed by medical staff suggested her blood oxygen saturation had fallen into dangerously low ranges, approaching the danger zone that separates record achievement from life-threatening hypoxia. At 9 minutes and 43 seconds, just 2 seconds before her record target, Eleanor lost motor control and suffered a hypoxic blackout as her brain oxygen levels became critically low. The safety team acted immediately, turning her supine and clearing her airway, but she had already inhaled a small amount of water. Despite rapid resuscitation efforts and immediate emergency medical intervention, Eleanor could not be revived. Prolonged oxygen deprivation caused irreversible brain injury. At 3:47 p.m., Eleanor King was pronounced dead at the local hospital. The investigation revealed the hidden danger that had claimed Eleanor's life. Investigators later determined that her training included aggressive pre-ventilation techniques designed to reduce carbon dioxide levels. While this practice can extend breath-holding time, it eliminates the body's natural warning system that signals when oxygen levels become dangerously low. Her death prompted renewed debate within the competitive breath-holding community and updated safety recommendations at the elite level. Real-time blood oxygen monitoring was strongly recommended for elite-level record attempts, and stricter guidelines were established for pre-breathing techniques. Eleanor King had dedicated her life to exploring human potential in aquatic environments, but the very water she loved ultimately claimed her life. Her story became a cautionary tale in a period marked by extreme record-breaking fatalities. Separately, another tragedy would soon occur in Idaho, highlighting how even carefully calculated risks can turn fatal when pursuing the ultimate human limits. It was October 14, 2017, when the rugged landscape surrounding Perrine Bridge in Twin Falls, Idaho, would witness a catastrophic equipment failure that would claim the life of one of America's most experienced extreme record seekers and forever change safety protocols in the bungee jumping industry. Brooks Watson lived his life in pursuit of the ultimate human limits. The 33-year-old from Phoenix, Arizona, had built an impressive career as both a stunt coordinator for major Hollywood action films and a professional record-breaking specialist. His military background as a paratrooper had given him unshakable confidence in high-risk situations, while his methodical approach had kept him alive through more than 500 bungee jumps. The Perrine Bridge had drawn Watson's attention for months. Standing 486 feet above the Snake River, this iconic Idaho landmark was one of the few locations in America where specially coordinated exhibition jumps could be conducted. Watson's vision was ambitious: create a custom high-elongation cord system that would allow maximum free-fall time before engagement, establishing a new record for extended freefall duration. Unlike conventional bungee systems, the experimental rig relied on a multi-stage elongation profile intended to delay peak deceleration. For 8 months, Watson had collaborated with aerospace engineers to develop his experimental bungee system. His team included Dr. Lisa Park, a cord dynamics specialist, his business partner Mike Torres as safety coordinator, and paramedic crew chief Janet Walsh. The custom cord was designed to stretch far beyond standard specifications, allowing Watson to experience an extended freefall that would shatter existing records. The morning of October 14th brought perfect jumping conditions. Clear skies, minimal wind, and excellent visibility created an ideal environment for Watson's record attempt. He spent considerable time inspecting his custom dual attachment harness system, which featured backup safety connections. At 11:30 a.m., Watson completed his final equipment checks. Every component had been verified multiple times, and weather conditions remained stable. His team monitored wind speeds and confirmed all safety protocols were in place. The bridge had been cleared of pedestrian traffic, and emergency response teams were positioned along the river. At 11:47 a.m., Watson stepped off the Perrine Bridge and began his descent toward the Snake River. The initial freefall proceeded exactly as calculated, with Watson rapidly accelerating toward terminal velocity while pursuing his record-breaking goal. The primary bungee cord engaged precisely when expected, but immediately, something went catastrophically wrong. Instead of the predicted deceleration profile, the cord continued stretching far beyond engineering specifications. Post-incident testing showed that the experimental material exhibited elasticity characteristics that differed from laboratory conditions. Watson's trajectory, which should have stopped with over 100 feet of clearance above the river, continued downward as the cord stretched far beyond modeled elongation limits. The uncontrolled overextension induced a violent lateral pendulum arc, swinging Watson into the basalt canyon wall at extreme speed. The partially tensioned cord failed to adequately decelerate him before impact, resulting in catastrophic blunt force trauma. Emergency responders reached Watson within 90 seconds, but the damage was irreversible. He was pronounced dead at the scene from multiple traumatic injuries. The investigation revealed critical failures that led to the disaster. Documentation inconsistencies were later identified between the cord used and previously tested specifications. The experimental material had undergone inadequate full-scale dynamic testing under operational temperatures, and temperature effects on elasticity had been significantly underestimated. Perrine Bridge authorities immediately suspended all custom bungee operations. The incident prompted several regional operators to voluntarily adopt third-party engineering reviews for equipment modifications, independent chord verification systems, and expanded structural clearance margins. Brooks Watson had spent his career mastering calculated risks and understanding the fine line between thrilling adventure and deadly miscalculation. His final jump represented both his greatest ambition and his ultimate downfall, proving that even the most experienced record seekers cannot account for every variable when pushing the absolute limits of human possibility. Thanks for watching. Want to see more? Click on your screen now.